A poor beggar girl named Wisteria wanders around the city begging the citizens to help her with some money or a little food. But no one stops to listen to her. All this happens under the eyes of a priest, who observes everything with apparent complicity. At night, the girl is mistreated by the same priest, since it turns out that he is the one who has her under his care, and exploits her labor by forcing her to beg. When the man leaves, the girl takes advantage of the tranquility to take one of the spoiled bread to feed herself. After midnight, she knocks 3 times on the window and calls out a name, whereupon a strange demon named Marbas appears and visits Wisteria. The priest hears them talking, so he enters the room in a rage and hits the girl, telling her that she must sleep early to get up early the next day. Seeing all this, the demon notices that the girl does not think she is a slave, but sees it as a kind of work. At that moment, he begins to remember the day he met her. He felt empty for not being able to interact with anyone until he saw Wisteria begging on the street, so he began to observe her. Quickly, Marbas noticed that the girl was able to see him, so he decided to visit her during the night and learn her story. As she told him that she could see demons since she was a little girl, he decided to visit her often. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a demon tries to assault a young man, but he effortlessly defeats him, although one of his companions appears to help her. They both reveal that they are demon hunters who are on the trail of a powerful demon that was seen in London. Back at the orphanage, Marbas shows little enthusiasm when talking to Wisteria about some legendary plays he saw thanks to the hundreds of years he has lived. For this reason, Wisteria scolds Marbas, telling him that he is a bitter man who has no friends, to which he responds by showing Wisteria that he is able to change his body and become human so that others can see him. She thanks him for visiting her, as he is the only person who brings a little happiness to her sad world. As he leaves, Marbas wonders to himself the reason for his affection for Wisteria. The next day, the priest announces to Wisteria that he will sell her, making her understand that his intention was not to care for her, but to display her publicly so that someone would buy her. She is terrified by this, so she asks Marbas to rescue her, since her brother had suffered the same fate years before. But Marbas replies that he cannot help a human if there is no payment involved, since that is against the demon's code, and if he violates those rules he would be destroyed. When the day arrives, Marbas witnesses the precise instant Wisteria is sold outside the church, so he begins to remember the good times he had with the girl. At that moment, he hears the demon hunters knocking on the church door to get answers about Wisteria. And when the priest reveals that the man who bought Wisteria is a deranged man who enjoys abusing and torturing orphan children, Marbas explodes in fury and embarks on a desperate journey to the man's house. Fortunately, he arrives just in time to save Wisteria, who had been cornered and who knows what the man was going to do with her. Since Marbas broke the law he mentioned earlier, a demon appears and tries to destroy him, but Wisteria offers her eyes in exchange. So she and Marbas are bound in a pact, so the demon can no longer destroy Marbas. At that moment, the demon is terrified to see that Marbas is one of the so-called 13 calamities. As he leaves the place, he becomes angry with Wisteria for giving up her eyes for him, but she tells him that nothing better could have happened to her than to meet him. Days later, Marbas gives Wisteria a precious cane so that she can live with her blindness. Later, he takes the girl shopping for new clothes, but notices that nothing he chooses pleases her, so he leaves her alone. Fortunately, Wisteria meets Diana, the daughter of the famous Count Blackbell. She asks her bodyguard to leave them alone, as she wants to help Wisteria choose suitable clothes. As they leave the place, Marbas notices that Diana's bodyguard is Nabrius, another of the 13 calamities. The two converse until the girls leave the store and their paths part again. As Marbas walks through the city, he remembers that Nabrius informed him that one of the calamities was killed. Snow, the demon hunter, follows Marbas unnoticed. The two meet at a coffee shop, where Snow reveals that he is Wisteria's older brother, who had been mentioned by the girl days before. Although Snow introduces himself in a threatening manner, Marbas invites him to his home on the outskirts of town. Wisteria cheerfully welcomes Marbas into her home, but he invites her outside. There, Marbas shows Snow that the girl is fine, but the young hunter has no better idea than to try to kill Marbas. So Wisteria yells at him, telling him that she is happy to see him. But she doesn't want the two to fight. Unfortunately, the opposite happens and the two start a fierce fight in which the young man uses all his resources to try to assassinate the demon. In the middle of the fight, Marbas protects Wisteria from a stray bullet, which leaves Snow in shock, as he realizes that Marbas really appreciates Wisteria, so he decides to leave them alone. The next day, Snow says goodbye, saying that he will do his best to trick the Hunters Syndicate to keep them from pursuing Marbas, since if they find him, they will kill Wisteria as well. Marbas and Wisteria go on a visit to a new town, But only seconds after arriving, trouble starts. A little girl asks her demon to slyly steal from our protagonists, but the little demon had no idea who he messed with, so the girl begs Marbas to forgive them. Marbas agrees, but on the condition that the girl treats them to lunch. When they arrive at the restaurant, she feels ignored, so she gives her wallet to Marbas so that he can pay for the meal. Upon seeing the girl's wallet, Marbas notices something strange and asks the little demon how long he will continue to hold the lie, so Mori asks Marbas not to mention it to Harriet, the girl. The next day, Wisteria goes for a walk with Harriet and Mori as Marbas allowed her to, but on the condition that she ties one of his hairs to her finger. After walking for a long while, the girls stop by a lake and Harriet explains to Wisteria that she used to live on the streets. But Mori came to her to save her and from that day on became her best friend. Wisteria identifies with this story, as it is almost the same thing that happened to her. At that moment, a creepy monster emerges from the waters and tries to attack Harriet, but two demon hunters appear and slay the demon without trouble. Then, the hunters try to hunt Wisteria, but Marbas appears and terrorizes them. Although the hunter tried to fight, Marbas proved to them that he was too powerful for them. Before fleeing, they wound Mori badly, so Harriet despairs. Marbas gets angry with them, since they put Wisteria in danger. At that moment, it is revealed that Harriet was cruelly killed several years ago, and that Mori keeps her soul alive due to the pact they both made. So the girl begins to remember that the monster they saw seconds ago was the one in charge of ending her life. But he couldn't keep her soul thanks to Mori. They both say goodbye emotionally, as Harriet was able to say a beautiful goodbye to her friend. At Diana Blackbell's house, dozens of spies of the Blade of the Cross fall day after day, so Nabarius notices that the war against them is imminent. Days later, Marbas and Wisteria walk under an intense snowstorm that broke out in the surroundings of the Blackbell mansion. Marbas does not become aware of Wisteria's human frailty until the girl collapses in the snow. He immediately takes her to Diana's house, where they treat her high temperature and do their best to calm her fever. Diana urges Marbas, as he was responsible for making a girl walk in a snowstorm. Upon waking up, Wisteria is very happy to see Diana again. She explains to Wisteria and Marbas that the Blackbell family has been in royal service for hundreds of years thanks to their gift for seeing demons. But things are going from bad to worse for them because of the Blade of the Cross organization, who wish to exterminate the demons and keep sending spies to get information. As Marbas apologizes to Wisteria for making her walk into the storm, Nabarius appears and tells them that they will have to leave, as the Crossblade hunters are just minutes away. Seconds later, they try to end Diana's life, but Nabarius appears and easily defeats them. Wisteria begs Marbas to watch the battle closely in case things get rough, which he reluctantly agrees to. Just when Nabarius seemed to have everything under control, the commander of the Blade of the Cross appears and damages him badly. Nabarius beats him ferociously, but the knight resists far more than any human. Marbas enters the scene to exhort Nabarius, but quickly realizes that the commander of the Blade of the Cross is far too tough for a mere human. In the end, he sets out to negotiate politically with Diana. Diana travels with Wisteria and Nabarius to carry out the negotiation. In fact, Nabarius will pretend to be the head of the Blackbell family. Meanwhile, Snow keeps an eye on everything with his binoculars. The group arrives at the agreed point to negotiate with the commander of the Blade of the Cross, and although everything seemed to go well thanks to Nabarius' skills, the deal proposed by the commander makes Diana very angry, so they both declare war. Although Snow was on a mission to shoot Diana in case the negotiation fails, he misses his shot on purpose, sparing the young woman's life. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.